Today we're going to be going over some of my most worn fragrances out of my 1,000 plus bottle collection. That's a question I get all the time from everybody is like, how do you decide what to wear? What do you wear when you have a lot to choose from? It's a great question, and it really comes down to what catches my eye and what am I happening to be in the mood for? What am I thinking about at that point in time? Because a lot of times, scents, at least really good ones, will leave a memorable impression on me. And not just me, but happens with most people as well. And so those favorites of mine are kind of stored in the back of my head. And every so often, depending on what time of year it is and what the weather is like and what it is that we're going to go do, some of those scents will kind of resurface. And I'll be like, oh, this is a good time to be wearing this or that or whatever it might be. And so historically, these are some of my most worn fragrances out of my collection. Some of these have gotten a lot of use just within the past couple of years because they're a bit newer. Others of these have been around for a long time, since the beginning of my collection, so of course they've been worn a lot. And then some of these are like alternatives to older versions, if that makes sense, and I'll explain that really with this first one, which is Guerlain L'Homme Ideal Platine Privé. And so this is fresh almond right here. Beautiful almond note with this nice creamy freshness, a little bit green, nice and aromatic. And most of you guys know where this is going. L'Homme Ideal Cologne / Cool, but mostly Cologne. That one it was at one point before they discontinue it, kind of the fresh version within this lineup. And so where the Eau de Parfum and later on down the road, the Extreme and the L'Intense and the original has a bit more of a sweetness to all of those. The Cologne version, just kind of like the name, was just lighter and fresher, more summer appropriate, just more for fair weather. They discontinued that one. They brought in Cool for a small amount of time, which had this kind of green mint note and followed a similar structure. That one went away pretty quickly. And then within the past couple of years, a Platine Privé was released as a limited edition run here. And it's essentially L'Homme Ideal Cool, or Cologne, essentially. Slight differences between the two, but overall, it's that pre-existing DNA. It's just fresher. And so back when Cologne was out, I was wearing that one a ton and really enjoying it. And so now that it's gone, and I do have a couple of bottles, but I try not to use them that much, I wear this one just because it's easier to get a bottle of this one for right now. It's not always going to be the case. This stuff, it's beyond me as to why they don't make this an integral part of the line. I really just don't get it. I guess it must be because it doesn't sell as well. I mean, there has to be some reason behind it that just, is a definitive, yeah, we're not going to keep it around forever. But I love this stuff. And I think that where the Extreme and the EDP and the new Parfum, for some people, those might be a little bit too much for them. This one, it's a lot easier to pull off if you're not wanting something too over the top or too extreme. Now, this next one, been around for a long time. Of course, was at the top of the fragrance game for a while, and it was really kind of at the time of me getting into this hobby for the first time is when I saw this one, because it was really at its peak hype around that time, which I think was, 2016, 2017, maybe early parts of 2018, somewhere kind of in that area. It's YSL La Nuit de l'Homme, and it had been out prior to those years, I think for a while, but started to really pick up a lot of steam during that time. And as I mentioned, I was just getting into collecting, so of course I had to check it out at some point, and I did. I actually smelled it in store first, I believe, which was a very rare thing. Usually that didn't happen. I just blind bought things, but I think I managed to smell it in store first. And I ended up buying the regular L'Homme first. I actually preferred the original L'Homme over La Nuit de l'Homme when I was first trying them both out. But then over time, I kind of was revisiting this, started to grow on me, and now if I had to choose, I would take La Nuit de l'Homme over the original L'Homme, but I like them both a lot. Just about tied, but this one would edge out a little bit more. To me, it's one of the best designer fragrances created. That cardamom lavender combination is just it's unlike anything else. Now, there's a few clones that have kind of come out to emulate this a little bit, and more so you see them cloning Lanui Delhomme Blue Electrique, which they all kind of tie together. But other than the clones, right, there's just nothing else really like this. It's one of a kind, truly. These days, it's going to be labeled as overhyped and just too popular, and a lot of people just might not really see the type of value in it that it once had. But for me, it's one that I've worn extensively over the years. One of my favorite fragrances. What's not to love about this? So this next one is actually a little bit newer, and I believe it was a 2022 release, but I've worn the heck out of it. And out of all of the ones in the Bad Boy line, this Extreme variant is my favorite. Now, I do have the new Elixir coming in, so maybe that one will become my favorite. We'll see. It's going to be here in a few days. I'm going to check that one out and we'll see. But out of all of the others, right now anyways, this is the one that I go for the most. The Le Parfum is really good, but I do prefer this. It's got tonka, incense, patchouli, and a nice kind of chocolatey note in here, like a cocoa note going on too, which gives it kind of a dusty, powdery, and slightly gourmand aspect. Oh, it's really nice. Worlds better than the original, which just isn't one of my favorites to begin with. I kind of thought the original left a bit behind, a little bit to be desired, and I just think that they've done nothing but improve as I've gone down the list here. So, like I said, I'm going to have that new one in here soon. It looks good, looks really promising. I think they're actually starting to do a pretty good job with these. And you might look at the name and the bottle and you might think it's a bit tacky, and it is, really. It's up for a personal opinion there, but, it's a little loud. However, for me, it's all about the scent, really, and this does smell great. More of a fall and winter scent, so not something you're going to be probably utilizing as much going forward if you're, here in the U.S. anyway, and Canada, and it's starting to warm up. But other than that, really good one to have on hand. Actually, and this next one is more cooler weather appropriate too, but it's one that I've worn a ton of, and I have several bottles of, kind of really stocked up when I started to hear that it might go away. Mercedes-Benz Club Black, and it hasn't gone away. So nothing to be worried about. Can't, of course, guarantee anything in the future. But I would say, I think it was probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, it was starting to look a little bit sketchy. Like it was selling out and just really couldn't have an understanding of if it was being discontinued and starting to get phased out or if it was just some supply issues. It ended up, I guess, just being some supply issues there because it's been in stock ever since, really, for around $40. So nothing to be worried about right now. If you really like it, would it be a bad idea to pick up a backup bottle at some point? No, that might be a smart thing to do, but it's not something I would put a rush on right now. But yeah, as I mentioned, about $40 for this, 100 ml, fantastic price. And I just saw they announced an eau de parfum of this. Okay, so it's same bottle, except down at the bottom here in red, it says eau de parfum. And the note breakdown looks kind of similar. It kind of looks similar to Parfums de Marly Altair as well, the note breakdown. Now, who knows if that's going to correlate to smelling similar to that or if it's just a coincidence, because note breakdowns aren't kind of the deciding factor as far as how something smells compared to something else, because there's so many variations, and also just the accuracy of if what they're presenting is actually within the scent or not to some capacity. So you can't make any conclusions yet, but I saw that. So I'm excited about it. We're kind of getting a flanker of a flanker, but in this instance here, if they can improve upon this somehow, which maybe they can, I'm all for it. And also an eau de parfum. This is an eau de toilette, which I kind of forgot about, but it is. And it's a great performer too. Again, I've worn a ton of this stuff, multiple bottles of it on hand to go at any point. Beautiful vanilla, almost niche quality vanilla here for a cheap price. Next up, we have Acqua di Gio Parfum. So as I mentioned earlier, kind of talking about just how I came to the selection of these, Profumo is what has been worn by me ever since I got started. So that was one that I kind of built my collection around. It was one of the first kind of more expensive designer scents that I added. I started off with a Voyage and Versace Eau Fresh, Those are the two first fragrances I ever purchased. Obviously, Voyage is 20 bucks. The Versace is about 40. And then I think I ended up getting the one Eau de Parfum. It's not too long after those. And I can't remember for sure. But I know Acqua di Gio Profumo was not too far after. And it was kind of a big deal because on that one, I was spending, close to $100, for a full-size bottle, which was, something I hadn't done yet. And so again, I've been wearing it ever since I started out, all through the years, summer, spring, fall, winter, really any time, but my preference for that is summer. That's my favorite time to wear Profumo. And of course, they discontinued it, but they just really essentially rebranded it into Acqua di Gio Parfum, which I guess I need to look better because this is Profondo. Hold on. There it is, Acqua di Gio Parfum. These new bottles with this new style gradient, they kind of look similar. So here it is. So yeah, Acqua di Gio Parfum. Again, these new bottles are starting to kind of look a little bit similar with the gradient style that they have. So yeah, Profondo, love that one, and I've worn the crap out of that stuff as well, but this Parfum is what we're really talking about. And yeah, it's Acqua di Gio Profumo in a nutshell, just rebottled with a bit of a different name, essentially. Can you tell the difference a little bit? Yeah, but not nearly enough to where it's a huge issue. It's a strong performing, kind of smoky, mysterious, aquatic scent that works great, again, for any time of the year, but I really do like it for summer. Summer evenings especially, it just works great. Ultra Male, another one that I've had around for a long time. This one at one point was super popular, and I mean, what all has changed as far as these Le Male flankers being hype beasts. I mean, this one, of course, the original, but then even Le Male Parfum was at the top of the game for a while. Elixir came out, very popular. We could kind of backtrack again and look at something like Superman Eau Fresh / Popeye. Both of those were incredibly popular summer versions. And then, of course, the Les Beaux, right? Paradise Garden, the Eau de Parfum. And then even the new Elixir Absolute. Again, it's new, but I can just pretty much guarantee that that one, especially as it stabilizes in terms of price, will become very popular as well, because I think that stuff might actually be better than the regular Elixir. It's really good. But I digress. Ultra Male is one that I've worn a ton of. I don't know how well you can see it, but this bottle is, yeah, you can't see it, but it's basically empty. And I do have another bottle on hand, but this is my OG bottle, the first one that I bought. So part of me just wants to save that little bit just because. But yeah, that stuff there, it's a pear, cinnamon, vanilla scent. It's incredibly sweet, sometimes too sweet. So that's something to be aware of before you just dive right into it if you're not fully into that. I would steer clear if you don't like overly sweet scents, because this one is. There's no way around it. Let's go for Bleu de Chanel Parfum up next. I've worn this a lot. I've worn, of course, the Eau de Parfum a lot. And honestly, I haven't worn the Eau de Toilette a ton. I just, I got the EDP first, and then I think I got the Parfum after, and then I think I ended up filling in the cracks with the Eau de Toilette just because I felt like I needed to have it. But I just, it was out before I got started, and it just never made sense, right? They were just something I could just wear the EDP or some other blue fragrances, and the Eau de Toilette just never really stood out to me all that much. Nothing wrong with it, still great. But my favorite is this Parfum, mainly because while you're spending a little bit more, you are getting something that is quite a bit stronger than the others. It's a very classy, everyday, kind of signature scent type of scent. I mean, you could be known for wearing this. It's like, it could work for anything. Okay, last up, we've got Roja Parfums Elysium. So off camera, this got tipped over and fell onto the concrete, and you can actually see it's still intact. Like, there's no sharp edges there, but it is, damaged. So durable bottle, I will say. I thought for sure that was going to be a goner. And this was also my first bottle of Elysium that I ever purchased. So that's why it's so scratched up. That's why it's basically empty. I'm still holding on to this one for dear life. I've got a few, like 2 or 3, I think, maybe 1 or 2 other Parfum colognes, and then a couple of the Parfums. But this is just kind of my display bottle, just because it's the first one I got. And it's nice to travel with because it's already been scratched. It's when you get a new bottle in, it's always kind of painful to get that first scratch on it. But if you've got one that's already scratched up all over the place, which one more? It's not really going to hurt anything. But I love Elysium, you know, while it is a bit pricey, although it has come down significantly on discounters over the years. I've seen it dip under $200 before. You might be looking at tester, but still, it's back when I first bought it, I didn't get it for anywhere near like 200. I think I was still paying $225, $230, $240 for that Parfum cologne on discounters. So it has adjusted a lot over the years to where it's becoming a little bit more reasonable. Still expensive, but better. Nice vetiver, fruity, citrusy scent, decent performance, very classy, great compliment getter. Alrighty guys, that's going to do it for me. Some of my most worn fragrances. I love them. We'll continue to wear them for years to come. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.